Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Journey with Janie podcast. I'm Jane Anderson and I am your host today. And today, following on from the last few episodes that I've done, we are going to be exploring something that I feel, and you guys may also feel, um, that many of us experience, but don't always name it. And that is the way that grief shows up in the small, ordinary moments of daily life. Grief isn't just something that happens on anniversaries or in the depths of those first few weeks and months after a loss. I'm sure I've mentioned this previously on other episodes. It is with you, and as we grow, the grief gets smaller. That said, it doesn't stop popping its head up. A bit like I mentioned about my waves of grief when I was in Bermuda, and I think I also touched on that when I was in Marbella going through like the rituals and things like that and the renewal type stuff. So it walks with us in the kitchen, out on a walk, out in the car, in the office, and even into the shops. And today I felt like I wanted to share how I've noticed how I've noticed that grief is an actual everyday occurrence. Grief in everyday life is happening, and it's how we soften it and meet it almost with care and compassion, not push it aside, but acknowledge that it's there so that we can move forward. So I know I've touched on this many times about the waves of grief, and I've talked about it on numerous occasions. I think the biggest moment for me is still the kitchen and the mornings. I have, Jonathan was always first up in this house, and as the farmer, out the door and wanting to get on. But he always made my cup of coffee, or at least switched the kettle on and had my mug ready there to fill up. So there is that little pause every morning when I go to make my cup of coffee, the flicker of that memory. And that's grief. And I think that's what we need to get to grips with, that actually that is grief, but for me, it's a memory. And it is in the most ordinary of things. So that's kind of my example, my story as to how grief shows up. And there is other things that, other examples. One that I find sometimes is smells. So it might be the smell of your loved one's perfume or aftershave that you catch a whiff of as you walk past somebody. And it is literally just that acknowledging, oh, that's grief. Or, yeah, passing a favourite cafe that you went to, or, where you used to sit and have a chat with the person. Also, in the workplace, it's seeing colleagues chatting and the absence of the person that you'd usually text after that conversation, if that makes sense. So, Jonathan was as much a part of my journey in the office as he was um, working at home on the farm, because obviously working at home on the farm is quite isolating. And he used to love me sending the messages to sort of say, "Oh, you'll never guess what such and such has done today." And yeah, the folding of the laundry. I know I'm not a big housewife. I like to spend time on me and do me, but folding the laundry, those missing dirty boots at the back door, um, setting one less space at the kitchen table. I think I could probably count on one hand the amount of times we've sat at the kitchen table, the three of us, to have a meal. So the key message here, I think, is ordinary reminders don't mean that you're failing at grief. The signs that love is weaving through the fabric of life. Grief in daily life is often quiet and unseen. Our culture in the Western world is to get back to normal. Sometimes, not all the time. People expect us to get back to normal quickly. But in truth, what is normal? What is your new normal? Normal is now infused with that grief. Like I've mentioned, we grow so the grief gets smaller. It's not about eliminating those moments of memory that you find you're thinking about the person, thing, whatever it is that you've lost. It's about learning to carry those moments and use them as a stepping stone to move you forward. So what I've found is, I mentioned it briefly before, I think, is my gentle kind of go-to when something kind of goes, oh, and I think I did mention this in the Marbella when I was the memories of our engagement and things and learning how to switch it. So I'll briefly go over those again. So it's name it. So this is grief. And that helps to separate the feeling and almost stop you from the self-judgment of feeling sad when actually you're just going about your day and want to make a cup of coffee. Pause with it. Pause with it. Take one small, slow breath, allowing the moment to be present without rushing and moving and pushing it under the carpet is probably the only way I would say. So pause and breathe. Take one slow breath. Take 5 slow breaths in and out. And just be present in that moment. Give yourself permission to be present. And then finally add kindness. Hand on heart. I do this a lot. If you watch me when I'm talking to people, or even in if you watch on video, previous podcasts, my hand often goes to my heart. So add kindness, hand on your heart, and just a little whispered word to yourself. Or find that comforting ritual that we talked about last episode, whatever that may be, whatever you find comfort in. So personally, for me, I know I'm talking about me a lot today. I feel your pain and I know exactly where you're at if you are going through loss. I can't relate to your grief specifically. I know what the pain feels like, but everybody's pain and grief is unique. Just like our fingerprint, we're all different, but I can resonate with the feelings. So some of the practical ways, and I know we've covered these before, but repetition is key, guys. Just even if you take one thing away from today to help you on that little journey of taking that first step. I found journaling on an evening before I went to bed was my go-to and still is to clear my mind of the thoughts of the day, always finishing on something positive. And that might even be I managed to clean the sink today and the kitchen looks tidy when I've come to bed. So always writing out your thoughts, whatever's, so your mind isn't busy when you go to sleep. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast about the making of the cup of coffee. So my daily routine now in the mornings is I let the dogs out and I actually walk. I don't just open the door and let them out. I actually walk to the gate, look up to the sky, and be grateful for the day that I have, as some people will not be waking up on the morning that I am. And then I come back in, make my coffee, and then I do gratitude. I am writing gratitude on a daily basis. Another thing is keeping a memory token, something. I carry it's a heart-shaped blue crystal in my pocket when I'm out and about. And I also invested in a necklace. So when you see me out and about, it is an acorn and a leaf. I often fiddle with that necklace. So that is my go-to. And this is kind of like my way of honouring Jonathan, so to speak. So I have my own little kind of rituals and things that I carry with me. And I'll be honest, I've looked at photographs and it's only recently that I've managed to actually put a photograph of Jonathan up near my desk. So, like I say, everybody's different. You may want to carry a photograph, but that wasn't something that was my bag, if that makes sense. And all I want to say is these practices don't remove the grief. They give it a place to sit beside you without putting your day into overwhelm. If you can start to practice these simple steps of just actually naming it, pause with it, and add kindness, you will find that you'll start to make some courageous steps of your own. So I hope this has helped a little bit. As always, I'm going to do a bit of reflection and learning, journaling prompts, because I know some of you are doing this and have said that it's helping. So just get your pens and your pads. And these are the things that came through for me when I was writing this before I recorded today. Where does grief most often show up in my daily routine? What's one small practice or pause I can add to meet it with care or kindness and kindness? How might I remind myself that these moments are not setbacks, but part of the love that I still carry? So they'll be in the description of the podcast if you want to go back over that. And I do encourage you to write. And the power of the pen is beyond what I ever thought it could be. If you don't want to write, voice note yourself, record yourself speaking out what you are feeling and what you want to get out, what needs to be brought out. Or just hold the reflections of the day silently within yourself and be proud that you've actually done it. So, as you move through your week this week, notice where that grief taps you on the shoulder. It might be when the kettle boils, or when you reach for your phone, and instead of fighting those moments, just pause and welcome them as reminders of the love that still flows through your life. Life is short. We don't know how long we have got. And as I've mentioned before, if you want to have a duvet day, that's fine. Do grief your way. All I'm doing is sharing tips and tools that can help you move forward and flip your page. Don't close your book. Let's start a new chapter. So I'm going to leave it there today. Thank you for joining me today. If this resonates with you and you'd like to know more about how we can work together, all the links are in the bottom of the podcast description. You can find me on social media as Jane Anderson. And if it resonated and you know of someone who might need it, please share it. We need to share the love and help guide people through this. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the importance of finding your tribe. I've covered this before, but like I say, repetition is key. Finding support and community in the grief, why it matters, and how to find spaces that feel safe and nourishing for you. Finding what works for you is key. Everybody has their own opinions. You have to do you and find what works for you. So until then, take care, guys, and enjoy your week. Thank you for joining me on the Journey with Janie podcast. It's always a pleasure to be with you on a Wednesday or whenever you are downloading and listening to the Journey with Janie podcast. All I ask is that you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also remember, there are ways of contacting me through my website on www.journeywithjanie.com. There's a contact button to book a call, which is a free 15-minute call. And all the details of the ways to work with me are on my website. I'm always available for a chat, a DM, or just a message via LinkedIn or Instagram. We all have the social handles now. Just drop me a message and let's talk. And remember, we don't have to do this alone, which is exactly why I am here to help guide you on this journey. I am the me that I needed 3 years ago, and I hope and feel that I can help you on your journey of moving forward by taking small, simple steps. So from me to you, take care.